but at least we'll know where they are.
The cemetery at Asbury Church in Brownsburg dates back to the late 1800s, and it memorializes veterans, freed slaves, and other members of the Brownsburg community, some who don't even have a headstone. In August, WFXR visited Asbury United Methodist Church to learn about its renovations. The church, built by freed slaves in 1869, partially collapsed due to a termite problem, but its congregation wasn't ready to let their house of worship go. They fundraised and rebuilt the floor, sparking a project to refurbish stained glass windows, fix the bell tower that hasn't rung in decades, and identify graves in the Asbury Cemetery.
And 114 estimated all these little yellow dots.
To pull off the project, the team at Asbury had a little help from their friends.
It's those stories of, once people had a chance after the end of enslavement, that what they were able to accomplish.
Professor Allison Bell at Washington and Lee teaches the anthropology of death.
I was aware of my colleague, Professor Sasha Golubov's project some years ago, researching Brownsburg's African-American community. And so I touched base with her. I realized that my students could, from the comfort of their desks, in the library or at home, access census records, sometimes deeds, sometimes wills.
She enlisted her class to research the names and stories of people buried in the cemetery, a largely Black population from families who worshipped at Asbury for generations.
It was quite the journey finding out information about her. My person, Ella D. Alexander, was born on September 10th, 1879 in Rockbridge, Virginia. She gave birth on August 4th to Robert Edward Alexander, which I said was previously undocumented. I also found that Ella had learned to read English sometime between the end of the 1910s and the beginning of the 1920s.
What we're dealing with are people who were either born into slavery or their parents were. And so they were not given the context that a lot of other Americans in the area were. So what we were able to do is provide something that helps to bring some humanity back to their story.
But the research doesn't stop or even start there. While Washington and Lee worked to learn the stories behind the headstones, Ravenna Archaeological Services from Charlottesville performed ground-penetrating radar. It found 193 likely graves at Asbury. That's 130 more than the church knew were there.
Asbury shared the results of their radar survey with me. These blue markers are headstones, marking graves we already know are there, and that's why the circles next to them are green. The radar has a high confidence that there's a grave here. Now, all these yellow circles are likely graves, and you'll see there's not too many headstones near them. Those are the graves that have gone unmarked, and exactly what Asbury was hoping to find.
That radar was funded by the African American Cemetery and Graves Fund at the Virginia Department of Historic Resources.
Who knows whether we might be able to identify a lot of those graves.
The archaeologists will give a final report in a few months. Combining the radar and the research at Washington and Lee, Asbury hopes to mark the graves, commemorating everyone buried at Asbury. In Rockbridge County, Rian Lowndes, WFXR News.
What a great story. Now, while that work is being done, if you're interested in learning about the history already uncovered at Asbury, you can visit the Brownsburg Museum and its current exhibit, Interwoven: Unearthed Stories of Slavery. The museum is closed for the winter and will reopen in the spring.